and welcome to Whisper Tales, a space where everyone can immerse themselves in peace and enchantment before drifting off to sleep. Tonight, we'll explore another captivating story that invites calm and lightness, helping you rest and recharge. But first, let's take a moment to gently prepare our bodies and minds for a soothing, restorative night's sleep. Make yourself comfortable, and with each slow inhale and long exhale, allow any cares from the day to slip away. It's not always easy to detach from the hustle and mental overload, especially before bed. However, remember this: the less we worry about how quickly we'll fall asleep, the easier it is for our minds to release any tension. Let the rhythm of your breathing carry away lingering worries, and let the story you're about to hear guide you into deep relaxation. Now, close your eyes and allow the magical atmosphere to softly envelop you. Enjoy the story, and may you find peaceful, restful sleep here on Whisper Tales. The raindrops softly patter against the bedroom window, creating a gentle rhythm for Lily as she transitions from dreams to wakefulness in the early morning. She listens intently to each drop as it delicately bursts on the glass, counting them one by one until they become too numerous to track individually. Instead, she allows her thoughts to wander freely, likening the collective sound to grains of rice cascading into a jar. This is the melody of the season, she muses, savoring the rain's beat and the faint rustle of leaves on the branches outside. Imagining the splendor of autumn hues and the gradual conclusion of the year, Lily smiles, stretching her arms above her head. Although darkness still envelops the world beyond her window, it is time for her to rise. She will soon don her hat and coat, making her way to the bakery to prepare for the day's initial customers. Despite beginning her day earlier than most of her neighbors, Lily finds contentment in her routine. She adores her work and eagerly anticipates placing the first pastries in the oven and brewing the inaugural pot of coffee. The joy on the faces of familiar patrons makes the early hours worthwhile, ensuring she is ready for a peaceful night's sleep when evening arrives. Sitting up in bed, she uncovers her legs and slides her feet into the plush slippers waiting on the floor, rising with a yawn. Silently padding into the kitchen, Lily relishes the tranquility of the hour when night gradually yields to day. Through the window, she observes the faint glow of morning light reflecting off the gray facade of the neighboring house, where its inhabitant still slumbers. He typically awakens later in the morning, enjoying a cup of coffee before tending to his garden, meticulously caring for each flower and shrub. Lily admires the exquisite plants he cultivates, feeling grateful for the warmth and camaraderie shared among the residents of her street. Approaching the kitchen counter, Lily brews a cup of robust black tea, her preferred morning beverage. Adding a touch of milk, she watches as the creamy liquid swirls and mingles with the dark brew. Carrying the steaming cup to her customary spot beneath the kitchen window, She settles into the wooden seat, savoring the first sip. The tea's flavor envelops her palate, providing a comforting warmth akin to the glowing embers of a fire on a brisk day. Looking through the glass at the sky, Lily notices the clouds have gathered into a dense blanket looming over the town. She assumes there won't be a break in the rain today. However, she isn't concerned. Rainfall like this is typical in autumn, and she appreciates the unique emotions that accompany this season. Without the rain, she wouldn't have the opportunity to wear her cozy sweaters, slip on her favorite rubber boots, wrap herself in warm scarves, or use her brightly colored umbrella. Rain is quite enjoyable when you have snug clothing and a cup of tea. After taking the final sip of her tea and rinsing the cup in the sink, she leaves it to air dry on a small bamboo rack. Then she proceeds to her bedroom to get dressed for the day. Giving a final glance at her inviting bed, she makes her way to the front door, knowing she can rest later. In the hallway, she puts on her felt hat and woolen scarf and grabs her vibrant yellow umbrella. As the door clicks shut behind her, she steps onto the walkway and opens the umbrella, causing it to burst into a colorful canopy above her head. In the window of the neighboring house to her right, she spots the familiar little white cat, owned by a pleasant woman who usually wears her hair in a bun. The cat gazes at Lily as she walks by, its expression revealing nothing. Lily smiles and waves at the cat. Apart from the fluffy feline, the rest of the neighborhood remains quiet. Strolling along, Lily passes charming homes with dark windows still asleep. A few porch lights flicker above brick front steps, while the street lamps emit a soft yellow glow that mixes with the rainwater on the pavement. She listens to the rain patter against the umbrella's fabric. Beneath its cheery yellow shelter, she feels safe and dry, reminiscent of the days when she used to construct forts out of pillows and blankets as a child. Nestled beneath layers of cotton and fleece, she felt as if the entire world had condensed into a tranquil and secure space of her own. Lily smiles at the memory and uses her free hand to pull the woolen scarf more closely around her. She skips over a puddle on her left and weaves around another on her right as she begins her descent of the hill leading to the bakery's parking area. In the distance, the brightly painted door of the shop stands out against the gloom. Swirls of green, blue, yellow, purple, and orange paint dance across the wooden exterior, welcoming all who enter. She vividly remembers painting the door one summer evening all those years ago. Brush in hand, she let her creativity lead the way, combining the rainbow of colors into spiraling patterns all across the wooden surface. When she finished, she brushed the hair out of her eyes and looked down. Her overalls and hands were splattered with flecks of dried paint. She laughed, caught up in the joy of bringing beauty to the ordinary, if only in a small way. Now, Lily pulls out her set of brass keys and fits one into the lock on the door. It creaks open, revealing the dark interior of the still sleeping shop. She shakes off her umbrella and flicks a switch with her fingertip. The lights snap on, and she sighs with contentment. It's good to be back in the bakery. The smell of flour, sugar, and espresso beans greets her as she walks through the quiet shop. These aromas waft toward her from the kitchen, a reminder of yesterday's baking. There's also a hint of toasted pecans from the pie she made just before closing up. In her mind, she runs through all the things she plans to make today as she gets the bakery ready to open. She turns on the oven to let it warm up. First, she'll do cinnamon rolls. Like always, she thinks to herself. But this time, she can add some toasted pecans for a little extra crunch. She brings over all the metal components of the espresso machine that she left drying on the rack the night before. She'll also be making pumpkin pie today, she remembers. Every year around this time, her customers start to ask when the pumpkin pies will be done. Some people like to order by the slice, but there are always a few hoping to bring home a whole pie to share with their family. Lily walks over to the cozy seating area and reaches down against the wall. Her fingertips find a plug, which she inserts into the socket. Strands of fairy lights twinkle to life above her head. For a moment, she stops moving and her mind settles. Lily takes a deep breath in and looks up at the lights. As she exhales, a sense of calm washes over her. It's important to slow down and enjoy the small moments, she thinks. After all, these are the ones that make life magical. With the lights shimmering on the ceiling, she walks over to the counter and into the small, open kitchen area. From here, she has a clear view of the whole shop and can easily move from her baking table to the espresso machine when people come in. She pulls 2 large white buckets of dough out from under the counter. The sticky dough has been rising here overnight. She pours it onto the wooden surface and spreads it out flat. Then she sprinkles it with cinnamon sugar and toasted pecans and uses the tips of her fingers to roll it into a large log. She slices it into discs, which have delicate spirals of filling running through them. She dusts the tops of each with more cinnamon sugar and then sets the tray in the oven to bake. After a few minutes, the delicious aroma of fresh cinnamon rolls wafts through the bakery. The comforting scent and the warmth of the oven intermingle, making Lily feel right at home. A while later, the oven beeps. She takes out the tray of rolls and sets it on a wire rack to cool. Now it's time to start on the pie. She makes her way to the pantry at the back of the kitchen and opens the door. Lily thinks of this space as her own magic room, packed full of all the ingredients and supplies that she could possibly need. Tubs of flour and baking powder are stacked beneath large canisters of spices and bottles of flavor extract. A jar of vanilla pods sits on the topmost shelf. There is star anise, fresh cloves, and poppy seeds, onion powder, roasted garlic, and chili flakes. And there, on the bottom shelf, tucked near the back, are fresh sugar pumpkins from a farm up the road. She chooses a hefty, medium-sized pumpkin and tucks it under her arm. In a large metal mixing bowl, she piles jars of spices and a few wooden spoons. She balances it all with the flair of someone who is used to carrying more than they should. Lily sets her armful of ingredients down on the counter. First, she has to roast the pumpkin. She carefully slices the gourd in half and scoops out the stringy interior and seeds. Then, she sets both sides face down on a baking tray and puts them in the oven to cook and soften. While the oven works its magic on the pumpkin, Lily gets to work on the crust. There are many different types of crusts she could make, but her favorite is graham cracker. She got the recipe from her Aunt Lucy, who always baked mini pies for all the children during the holidays. Lily pulls a plastic sleeve of graham crackers from their blue cardboard box and sets it on the counter. She lays a tea towel over the package and gets out her large, heavy rolling pin. Gently, she rolls it back and forth over the towel, crushing the crackers below. She works the pin from side to side, feeling the smooth wooden handles move beneath her palms. The crackers crunch and snap under the weight. Once they are the texture of rough sand, she pulls open the corners of the bag and pours the contents into a mixing bowl. A little puff of graham cracker dust tickles her nose. Lily walks to the large silver refrigerator and finds a stick of butter. She unwraps the waxy packaging and plops the stick into a mixing cup. It goes in the microwave for just a few seconds until the butter is melted. She pours the butter into the bowl with the crumbs and adds a good amount of sugar and cinnamon. Using a long wooden spoon, she mixes them all together until they feel like wet sand. With her fingers, she spreads the mixture into the bottom and sides of a shallow pie dish. She works over the crust methodically, careful not to let it crack along the edges. She pushes and presses, a little more here, a little less there. Before long, it forms an even brown base. The oven beeps once again. Lily pulls on her thick, colorful oven mitts and lifts out the tray of pumpkin. Then she slides the pie dish into its place. She sets the timer for 12 minutes, just enough to get the crust a little bit crunchy, so it holds up under the weight of the liquid filling. Just then, she hears a creak as the wooden door swings open. Her first customer of the day has arrived. As always, it's Seamus, the kind elderly man who likes to read his paper with a cup of coffee and a cinnamon roll. The only exception is on days like today, when she makes pumpkin pie. He smiles at Lily as she pours a long, thin stream of coffee into a mug. He's been coming into her shop for so many years, he doesn't even have to order anymore. By the time he reaches the counter and wishes her a good morning, Lily already has his breakfast ready to go. "Smells like pumpkin pie is on the menu," he says to her, taking his coffee in hand. She smiles and promises to bring him out a slice as soon as it's finished baking. He thanks her and takes up his usual seat by the window, snapping open the crisp fold of the morning newspaper. Now that he's here, it really feels like the day has begun. Lily enjoys working while Seamus is in the shop. He is as much a part of this place as any of her other regular customers. Together, they are a community, a family, almost, and they call the Rainy Day Bakery home. She looks at the timer and sees the crust is ready to come out. She pulls on her mitts and removes the dish from the oven. It smells warm, sweet, and toasty, just heavenly, as Seamus would say. Now, Lily turns her attention to the pumpkin filling. With a spoon, she scoops out the orange flesh of the pumpkin from the skin and drops it into a large bowl. She mashes it around with a wooden spoon until it has an even and smooth consistency. She brings over eggs and heavy cream from the refrigerator and begins cracking the eggs one by one, adding them to the pumpkin. Then she pours in the cream, watching its milky whiteness trickle through valleys of orange puree like little pearly rivers. Lily measures heaping spoonfuls of cinnamon, ground ginger, nutmeg, cloves, and cardamom. Together, the spices call to mind everything familiar and comforting about this time of year. This is the aroma of the holidays, of family and togetherness. As she mixes, the air seems to hold her in a warm embrace of memory and scent. She grates the tiniest bit of lemon zest into the filling to brighten the flavor and give it a little zing. She stirs it one more time until the mixture is perfectly smooth and silky. Carefully, she pours the filling into the crust, using a spatula to clean the sides of the bowl and get every last drop. Then she slowly carries the wobbly pie to the oven and puts it down gently on the rack. With the timer set, she has a few moments to rest. She leans back against her table and looks out over the shop. There's a bookshelf in the corner where people have left little paperbacks and large hardbound art books. She's put in a few mystery novels herself over the years. After she finishes reading them, she likes to pass them on to someone else, knowing they'll bring the same kind of joy to new eyes. Near the shelf, there's a small, hand-painted children's rocking chair. She found it in a second-hand shop years ago and brought it into the bakery for her smaller customers. Over time, various children added their own special touches to the chair. Now, it's decorated with flowers and bees, squiggly lines, and little scratches. The beep from the oven brings Lily back to the task of baking. The pie's done. Upon opening the oven door, a hot breeze greets her cheeks like a dragon's breath, carrying the nutty and savory sweet aroma of warm pumpkin pie. Lily takes the dish out of the oven and places it on the counter to cool while she tidies up the mixing bowls, rolling pins, and measuring cups. By the window, Seamus can be seen casting curious glances at the pie. She chuckles and slices a piece for him. Deciding to treat herself, she cuts an extra slice. It has already been a long morning, and she can't think of anything better than enjoying something sweet with an old friend. She serves each slice on a small white plate, adding a dollop of fresh whipped cream on top. Carrying them to the table by the window, she sits across from Seamus. "Smells delicious, just like every year," he remarks as he digs his fork into the filling. Lily takes the first bite, relishing the tangy pumpkin flavor on her tongue. The taste is rich and aromatic, enveloping her senses with warm, sweet spice. Perfect, she thinks. Absolutely perfect. While savoring her pie, Lily admires her cozy bakery. Seamus smiles. Good friends are wonderful companions on autumn days like this, she reflects. She gazes at the twinkling fairy lights, synchronized with the rhythmic raindrops tapping against the window. These are the little details that make this place feel like home, Lily muses. The bakery narrates the stories of its patrons, of all the individuals who have ever entered through its creaky wooden door. She smiles contentedly, knowing this is precisely where she belongs. Raindrops patter against the window near Lily's bed. Occasionally, a gust of wind intensifies the rain against the glass. Lily lies under the covers with closed eyes, listening to the storm's fluctuating sounds. It's going to be a blustery day, she thinks, relishing the last moments in bed before getting up in the morning. These are some of Lily's cherished moments, when her thoughts are dreamy and her mind still holds on to the sensation of deep sleep. Soon, a yawn creeps up on her, prompting her to stretch her arms out widely. She rotates her ankles a few times in each direction, preparing them for movement when she eventually gets out of bed. Inhaling deeply, she exhales slowly, allowing her body to relax into the softness of the sheets. Just a little longer, she thinks to herself, a faint smile playing on her lips. The rain taps the window in waves, as if curtains of water are repeatedly opening and closing. Another strong gust of wind rattles the branches of the tree outside, sending a flurry of raindrops toward the house. Days like this are always thrilling for Lily when the weather appears wild and unpredictable. It feels as though the rain and wind inspire her to be a bit more spontaneous. With that in mind, she pushes herself up to sit on the edge of the bed and then stands, glancing out the window as she does. As always, it's still dark outside. Lily wakes up earlier than most people in town, needing to have the bakery open and ready by the time everyone else is starting their day. She knows the rest of the neighborhood is sound asleep. Even the house cats are probably dozing in fluffy beds or on pillows by windowsills, awaiting dawn. Lily slips her feet into her comfy slippers and quietly pads into the kitchen. The first thing she does is put on the kettle for a nice cup of strong, hot tea. Leaning against the counter, she listens to the water beginning to boil, hearing the bubbles rumbling within. From the drawer, Lily retrieves a small metal tea ball and fills it with fragrant strands of loose-leaf black tea. Each leaf stands at a peculiar angle in the ball, so she must be careful not to let any of them escape as she twists on the top. She suspends the tea ball over the side of her cup by a tiny metal hook and chain. When the water is ready, she pours it over the tea. Bubbles rise from within the metal ball, causing it to float slightly before sinking to the bottom. A fan of tea colors spreads out from it, tinting the clear water as it swirls around. Lily raises the cup to her nose and takes a deep breath. The aroma of hot tea on a chilly morning is delightful to her. Feeling spontaneous, she decides to forego her usual splash of milk, choosing to drink it black today. However, still craving the comfort of her routine, she carries it over to the wooden seat beneath the kitchen window. This is where she always enjoys her morning tea, gazing out at the sleepy neighborhood on the other side of the glass. Some mornings, the first rays of light would already be shining through the clouds by this time. But today, the sky is heavy and dark. A blanket of gray clouds hangs low over town, and the rain is continuous, only interrupted by the ever-changing wind. She observes how it bends and sways the branches of the tree across the street. It's definitely coat weather today, she decides. Lily sips her tea slowly, feeling herself warming up a bit more with every drop. She wiggles her toes inside her fuzzy slippers, relishing the tingling sensation it sends across her skin. This is the most perfectly cozy morning, she thinks to herself. After finishing her tea, Lily washes out the cup and places it on a bamboo rack by the sink to dry. Despite the absence of sunlight, Lily knows it's time to prepare for her trip to the bakery. With years of experience in opening her shop every morning, Lily feels like she has an internal clock that is finely tuned. She has a keen sense of when to finish her tea and when to leave the house to arrive at the bakery on time. Choosing a gray shirt to match the weather, Lily moves to her bedroom to get dressed. She dons her thick wool coat, fastening the buttons securely, and wraps a chunky cable-knit scarf around her neck, a gift from one of her loyal customers, Rose, 2 winters ago. This scarf holds sentimental value for Lily, reminding her of the friendships she has cultivated and warming her heart each time she wears it. Covering her chin with a scarf and slipping on a pair of large gloves from her coat pockets, Lily grabs her trusty yellow umbrella before heading out. Closing the door behind her, she stops on the front step to open the umbrella. Despite the wind's resistance, Lily manages to expand the canopy, adding a bright touch of yellow to the gloomy morning. Stepping onto the sidewalk, she shields herself from the heavy raindrops, their sounds amplified under the umbrella. Noticing the small white cat that usually greets her from her neighbor's window, Lily sees that it's still asleep, curled up in the warmth of the house. Typically alert and observant, the cat is having a lazy morning today. Lily watches the cat nap peacefully behind the glass, briefly yearning for the comfort of her own bed. However, thoughts of her loyal customers bring a smile to her face, motivating her to leave home each day, rain or shine, to open the doors of the Rainy Day Bakery. Walking down the wet pavement towards town, she has to sidestep large puddles every few steps. The sidewalk shimmers under the streetlights, yet the sun remains hidden. Today will probably be one of those dark mornings, she muses. Ahead, she spots the brightly painted bakery door, its vibrant colors standing out in the dim light, inviting all who pass by. A sanctuary on such a day where visitors can come in, enjoy a hot drink, savor a slice of pie or cinnamon roll, and lose themselves in a good book. Some patrons prefer to engage in conversation, relishing the company of both new and old friends in a familiar setting. She realizes that her bakery has truly become intertwined with the community, a home away from home where everyone can find something to uplift their spirits. As she ponders this, a gust of wind flips her umbrella inside out. Startled, Lily hurries towards the colorful door, fumbling with her brass keys to unlock it. Clutching her now bent umbrella, she pushes open the door, revealing the dark, quiet bakery. After wiping her feet on the entry mat to minimize wet footprints, Lily flicks on the lights, casting a glow over the small shop. Surveying the damage to her yellow umbrella, she notes the bent metal pieces and the dysfunctional slider that no longer keeps the canopy open. With a resigned sigh, she sets the umbrella down in the entryway, acknowledging its faithful service over the years, but realizing it's time for a replacement. Planning to spend the entire day in the bakery, Lily wonders when she'll find time to shop for a new umbrella. She anticipates a damp walk home later, but she's accustomed to the local weather and resolves to make the most of it. Taking a deep breath to clear her mind, she focuses on the day's tasks, greeted by the familiar scents of espresso beans, flour, and pecans lingering from the night before. On a regular day, she typically starts by making cinnamon rolls, but today she's feeling spontaneous, much like with her tea. Perhaps it's the wind or the heavy rain tapping on the ground outside, but Lily senses it's time for a change. Making her way into the cozy seating area, she bends down to plug in a strand of fairy lights. In no time, They flicker on above her like diamonds. With a newfound spring in her step, she returns to the pantry, scanning the shelves filled with baking supplies and ingredients stacked high. What should I bake today? She murmurs to herself. Just 2 days ago, she baked a blueberry pie, followed by lemon squares and pecan rolls yesterday, and chocolate muffins the week before. These treats are all beloved by her customers. However, Lily ponders what would bring her joy. A few years ago, she stumbled upon her grandmother's cookbook on a shelf in the family home. While flipping through its pages, she stumbled upon a recipe she had never attempted. Intrigued, she marked the page with a scrap of paper tucked into the spine. Lily's grandmother's cookbook now rests on a dark wooden bookshelf against the back wall of the pantry. With a grin, Lily walks over to the book and flips to the marked page. The recipe is simply labeled baked apples. In the margins, yellowed with age, Lily spots her grandmother's distinctive handwriting. A note reads, "Perfect for a chilly autumn day." Scattered across the page, her grandmother had penned corrections to the original recipe, small tips and adjustments to measurements to enhance the final dish. This is what I'll bake today, Lily decides. It's time to venture into something new. The list of ingredients is quite straightforward. She requires butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, rolled oats, chopped pecans, and several large apples. Lily gathers the ingredients and brings them back behind the counter. She leaves the butter out to soften, then proceeds to prepare the nuts. After roughly chopping them, she sets them aside before measuring out the oats. Finally, she switches on the oven and lets it preheat. The subsequent step of the recipe is a tad more intricate. She must core the apples and create a pocket for the filling without splitting them in half. Beside the instructions, her grandmother had written, "Use paring knife and spoon." Lily takes her paring knife and gently pierces near the stem of the first apple. She slides it in and cuts a careful circle around the core. Slowly twisting it aids in detaching the core closer to the base. With a delicate tug, it comes loose. The hollowed-out apple resembles a pumpkin with its seeds removed. Setting the fruit aside, she proceeds to the next one. Soon, the task becomes routine. She effortlessly removes the core with a single swift motion repeatedly until she has a line of apples ready to be filled. Next, it's time to prepare the filling. Lily gathers the softened butter, sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg and combines them with a wooden spoon. Once the spices are evenly mixed, she adds the oats and pecan pieces. Using a spoon, she carefully fills the apples to the top with the mixture. After preparing the apples, she arranges them neatly in ceramic pie dishes. Lily pours water into each dish until the apples are just submerged at the bottom, following her grandmother's advice to prevent drying and burning. Finally, she is ready to place them in the oven. Wearing thick oven mitts, she places the pie dishes on the metal racks, closes the oven door, and sets the timer to alert her when it's time to check on them. While tidying her workspace, Lily hears the bakery door creak open. It's Rose, one of her cherished customers, who has become a friend over the years. Rose greets Lily with a smile, hangs her scarf on a chair, and heads to the counter, where Lily has her coffee ready. After thanking Lily with a warm smile, Rose inquires about Lily's day. Lily excitedly shares details about the baked apples from her grandmother's recipe and offers Rose the opportunity to be her first taste tester. The two discuss the weather on this blustery autumn day. Lily mentions her broken umbrella, expressing uncertainty about replacing it before heading home. Rose reassures her, patting her arm and offering comforting words before taking her coffee to a table. Shortly after, another regular customer, Seamus, arrives. Lily serves him coffee and assures him of a baked apple once they are done baking. Throughout the morning, all of her regular customers arrive one by one. Some appear to have braved the storm with rain-splattered coats, while others shield themselves with folded newspapers or shake out their umbrellas upon entering. Lily attends to them, serving a variety of coffees, teas, and pastries. When the timer goes off, Lily turns away from the seating area and faces the oven. Carefully, she pulls out the pie dishes filled with apples, now soft and gooey. Out of the corner of her eye, Lily notices Rose speaking with different customers. She wonders about their conversation at this early hour, but is just a passing curiosity as her mind returns to the task at hand. She delicately removes the apples from the water-filled pie dishes and places them on individual plates. Walking over to the refrigerator, she retrieves a carton of whipping cream. Pouring some into a bowl, she sprinkles sugar on top and uses a handheld mixer to whip it into cream. The mixer hums as the beaters spin, and Lily watches Rose leave through the door. But she hasn't even tried her baked apple yet, Lily thinks. When soft peaks form in the cream, she stops beating. Using a metal spoon, Lily adds a dollop of whipped cream to each apple, along with a drizzle of her renowned caramel sauce. The warm aroma of the hot apples and rich cream is enticing, filling the air with a sense of homely comfort. Carrying the first plate to Seamus, she places it in front of him. She proceeds to serve the family in the corner, the woman with the newspaper, and the man who typically orders cranberry scones. While distributing the apples, Lily sees Rose return through the door with a long, thin package wrapped in shiny paper. Rose signals to Lily, who approaches her. "This is for you," she says, handing her the package. Attached to it is a handwritten note. "To Lily, from all your friends at the Rainy Day Bakery." Lily unwraps the paper to find a brand new umbrella inside. This one is green with yellow polka dots and a handle shaped like a duck's head. "This might be the most cheerful umbrella I've ever seen in my whole life," Lily tells Rose as she admires it. "Thank you all so much." Observing the room, Lily notices that the other customers are also smiling broadly. This was a gift from all of them, she realizes, a present from all her friends. The realization fills Lily with warmth and joy. This place and these people give her a true sense of belonging. "I've got something for you, too," she tells Rose with a wink, handing her one of the last 2 baked apples from her grandmother's recipe. The other Lily keeps for herself. Together, they sit by the window, looking out at the wet, gray, and windy day outside. But here, in the Rainy Day Bakery, everything and everyone is safe, warm, and loved. Lily uses a spoon to scoop out some of the soft apple and gooey filling, perfectly spiced and deliciously sweet, made even more so knowing that her grandmother guided her along the way, and that she's sharing it now with the best of friends. When Lily opens her eyes, the first thing she hears is the gentle rain outside her window. The rain falls steadily, without any wind, creating a rhythmic sound of droplets hitting the ground. She yawns, stretches her arms and legs, and then relaxes in her soft bed, savoring the peaceful moments before her busy day begins. Today, Lily is hosting the annual cookie decorating party at the bakery. Although she prepared several batches of sugar cookies the day before, she still has more to do before guests arrive later in the morning. This time of year is one of her favorites, as the bakery is filled with warmth, laughter, and the happy faces of friends and neighbors on Cookie Day. After stretching once more, Lily gets out of bed, puts on her fuzzy slippers, and grabs her robe from the hook on her bedroom door. Wrapped in its cozy warmth, she makes her way quietly to the kitchen. Her morning routine is familiar. Lily starts by boiling water in the kettle and then prepares a cup of cranberry orange spiced black tea using a metal tea ball. This tea is a winter favorite, especially when enjoyed with hot water. Adding a splash of milk, she carries the steaming cup to her wooden window seat. The dark morning outside reveals a faint glow from a neighbor's nightlight across the street, as most people are still asleep. As the one responsible for opening the bakery each day, Lily is accustomed to waking up before everyone else. She appreciates the role she plays in starting people's days with a cup of coffee and a sweet treat. While gazing out the window, she notices the dark, cloudy sky and recalls the forecast for snow. Lily lightly touches the cold window glass, thinking with a smile that it just needs to get a bit colder for the snow to arrive. Snowy days always add a touch of magic to the bakery for Lily. Working behind the counter gives Lily a clear view of the street through the windows. She enjoys watching the snow accumulate on the sidewalks, where children play and build snowmen under the street lamps. While she has always found joy in watching the rain, Lily believes that everyone can use a bit of extra magic at times. Finishing her tea, she washes the cup and leaves it to dry on the bamboo rack before returning to her bedroom to get dressed. Every year during the cookie party, Lily wears the same charming sweater that she received as a Christmas gift several years ago. The sweater features a friendly snowman with large trees in the background, knit as a pile of squares, with a goofy grin that never fails to make her smile. Her customers also seem to enjoy the sweater whenever she wears it. After getting ready by putting on her coat, scarf, hat, and gloves, Lily grabs her new umbrella, a green one with yellow polka dots and a handle shaped like a duck's head. She loops the cord around her wrist before stepping out of her bedroom and closing the door with a click, venturing into the early morning rain. The rain has eased up a bit since Lily was in bed. Now it's more of a drizzle, but she still prefers the warm and dry comfort provided by her umbrella. As she walks down the road, she opens the umbrella and holds it above her head, listening to the gentle pitter-patter of raindrops on the cheerful fabric. Using this umbrella always reminds her of her friends and loyal customers at the bakery who gifted it to her after her old one broke during an autumn storm. The gesture of kindness is something she often reflects upon, especially on rainy mornings like this one, as she looks up through the colorful polka dots streaked with rain lines. Noticing a change at her neighbor's window, Lily is surprised to see a black cat instead of the usual white one, peering out with watchful eyes. Behind the black cat, she spots a flicker of white, realizing it belongs to the cat she usually sees on her way to work. Watching the cats readjust and curl up together like semicircles, Lily thinks to herself, how nice for the white cat to have a new friend. Now they can keep each other company. With a smile, Lily continues her walk down to the bakery, where the familiar multicolored door soon comes into view. The first hints of dim gray morning light play on the horizon, allowing her to discern the different hand-painted hues. Upon reaching the bakery, she unlocks the door, steps inside, and is greeted by the warmth of the bakery. After gently shaking out her umbrella and leaving it to dry in the entryway, Lily wipes her feet on the mat and takes a deep breath, transitioning from the outside to the inside world. The ever-present aroma of roasted coffee beans, mixed with a hint of burnt sugar from yesterday's cookies, fills the air, evoking thoughts of toasted marshmallows with their sharp sweetness. She advances and switches on the lights, illuminating the bakery. Moving to the seating area, she bends down to plug in the strand of fairy lights that twinkle above. Now prepared to start the day, she usually begins by making a large batch of sticky cinnamon rolls. However, today is a bit different, as she still needs to make a couple of batches of cookies to ensure she has enough of each type for later. Heading to the pantry, Lily gathers all the dry ingredients required. She is preparing double batches of chocolate chip cookies and stained glass sugar cookies. Initially, she takes out flour, white sugar, brown sugar, vanilla extract, black treacle, and chocolate chips. Next, she locates the cornstarch and salt. Lastly, she retrieves a bag of colorful hard candies, which she will melt down to create the glass panes in the stained glass cookies. From the refrigerator, she fetches the baking soda and eggs. The butter has been softening on the countertop, reaching the perfect texture for use. Lily separates everything by batch, then mixes the dry and wet ingredients in separate bowls. Once ready, she combines them until the dough reaches the ideal consistency. For the chocolate chip cookies, she gently folds in the chips to prevent them from breaking, then scoops the dough evenly onto a tray using an ice cream scoop and places it in the oven to bake. As for the stained glass cookies, she wraps the dough and refrigerates it to chill, allowing it to firm up for easier rolling out and cutting into shapes later. Just as the delightful aroma of baking cookies starts wafting through the air, her first customer of the day enters. It is Seamus, as usual, coming in for his cup of coffee and a sweet treat. While he typically enjoys a cinnamon roll, on cookie day, he likes to be the first to taste whatever Lily has baked, jokingly ensuring they have turned out well with a twinkle in his eye. Lily has his coffee ready before he reaches the counter, sliding it across the wooden surface to him. Adjusting the newspaper tucked under his arm, Seamus picks up the cup. "What varieties are you making this year?" he inquires, looking at the oven expectantly. "Chocolate chip, plain sugar, and stained glass," Lily replies with a smile. "Well, I guess I'll have to try one of each, if you'll allow me," he remarks. After all, I need to make sure they've turned out well, right? Lily chuckles and nods. Certainly, she says. Cookie Day wouldn't be the same without you. Seamus moves to the window and takes a seat, enjoying a perfect view of the street with its puddles, just as the first light of morning begins to illuminate the sky behind the thick clouds, although the sun has yet to break through. The clouds lighten to a softer shade of gray. Just at that moment, the timer alerts Lily that the chocolate chip cookies are ready to be taken out of the oven. She puts on her oven mitts and opens the door to be met by a warm rush of air as she gazes inside. The cookies are fluffy in a rich golden brown, with the chocolate being gooey and thick, yet still maintaining its shape. Lily removes the tray and places it on a wire rack to cool. The delightful, sugary aroma of freshly baked cookies permeates the bakery, an enchanting scent that Lily believes makes any place feel more like home. Shortly after, it is time for her to retrieve the sugar cookie dough from the refrigerator. The dough is cold and solid to the touch. After placing it on her wooden table, she fetches her rolling pin. With fluid, intentional movements, she rolls out the dough to the ideal thickness. She then uses square, rectangular, and circular cookie cutters to shape it. Following this, she employs a second set of cutters to create smaller designs within the cookies. The shapes include bells, trees, ornaments, snowflakes, and more. She arranges the cookies on a prepared baking sheet. Subsequently, she divides the colorful hard candy into bags by color and crushes it into tiny pieces using the rolling pin. Using a teaspoon, she sprinkles the sweet fragments into the cutout centers of the cookies. Upon baking, the candy pieces will melt together, creating a stained glass effect encased by a cookie window frame. Once prepared, she places the trays in the oven to bake. For a brief moment, Lily can relax and appreciate the day unfolding in front of her. The sky is now brighter, despite the ongoing drizzle outside. People are starting to emerge from their homes, some walking and others driving. A few customers gradually enter the bakery, including Rose, a regular, and Gwen Spencer, accompanied by her two young twin boys. Lily can only distinguish between the twins because one wears glasses and the other does not. Otherwise, they are dressed identically: red shirts, blue jeans, and green fuzzy walker socks. The twins are just 2 years old, and they both enjoy exploring the bakery, playing in the kids' corner, and greeting other guests. They are also aware that Lily is likely to offer them a sweet treat whenever they visit. Seeing them reminds Lily that she still has some preparation to do before the cookie party begins. Wiping her hands on her apron, she walks over to the pantry and gathers all the cookie decorating supplies she can find. There are sprinkles in every shape and color: thin ones, flat ones, and round gold and silver bowls. She also finds jars of colored decorative sugar: green, blue, red, yellow, and purple. There are chocolate curls, coconut flakes, and tins of crushed peppermint candy. She places them all into a large basket, which she carries out to the seating area. She lays out an assortment of decorations on every table, along with tubes of icing sugar and colorful gel, and shakers filled with powdered sugar. Finally, from the very back of the pantry, she pulls out a large metal tree. Each of the branches is ribbed so that ornaments can be hung from it all the way down. But instead of ornaments, the tree will hold as many of the decorated cookies as it can. When her timer goes off, Lily returns to the oven and removes the stained glass cookies. She smiles to herself. They look absolutely perfect. Each cookie has a glossy center in bright and vivid red, blue, orange, yellow, or green. As they cool, she gets out the plain sugar cookies she made yesterday. These have already been cut into fun shapes, like snow people, evergreen trees, snowflakes, and stars. One by one, she arranges all of the different types of cookies onto large silver platters. Every table will have its own, so people can choose to decorate whatever they'd like. But before she carries out the larger trays, she has a special delivery to make. She places one of each kind of cookie onto a small plate, which she sets down right in front of Seamus. He smiles broadly as he lifts the chocolate chip cookie to his mouth. Taking a bite, he sighs with contentment. "I think these are the best cookies you've ever made," he says. "In fact, I think they're the perfect cookies." This is what he tells her every year about each of the cookies. Happiness wells up inside Lily as she thinks of the satisfaction of a job well done. Every time she bakes a cinnamon roll, a croissant, or a cookie that someone enjoys, the knowledge makes her day a little brighter. Returning to the counter, she retrieves each of the larger trays and sets them on the tables. Then, glancing up at the clock, she sees that it's just about time for people to start arriving. As if on cue, the door opens and the first guests wander inside. It's one of the new families in town. They glance around with an endearing shyness. Lily waves to them and lets them know they can choose a table and start any time they'd like. They smile gratefully and pick a spot close to the door. Next comes an elderly couple who are here visiting their grandchildren. They always stop by if they have time while they're in town. They sit near Seamus, exchanging friendly greetings before settling in. People Lily knows from around town pour into her bakery one by one, old and young, alone or with loved ones. All are invited to the annual cookie decorating party. Everyone settles in around tables filled with supplies, filling the shop with chatter, laughter, and the sounds of sprinkles, shaking and icing tubes being squeezed. Taking in the cozy atmosphere, Lily feels completely content. She can't think of a better place to be than here, surrounded by the warmth and camaraderie of the community. Glancing out the window, she sees the first snowflakes gently falling to the ground. A child notices them too. "Look, it's snowing," the girl exclaims, getting her mother's attention. The room falls silent as everyone turns to watch the delicate snow dusting everything outside. Lily wonders if her neighbor's cats are also watching the snow from their window. Whether it's the joy of being with everyone in the bakery or the enchantment of winter, Lily isn't sure, but she feels compelled to step outside and experience the snow on her skin, even if just for a moment. Quietly, she moves around the counter, opens the door, and steps outside, gazing up at the sky. Lily spreads her arms wide and twirls slowly, feeling the snowflakes land on her face. With a smile, she sticks out her tongue to catch a snowflake, enjoying the playful moment. As she looks around, she appreciates the serene beauty of the snowy day. The world seems hushed and magical under the blanket of snow. In the distance, a crow leaves footprints in the white expanse, mirroring Lily's own boot prints. She waves goodbye to the crow and the snow before returning to the cozy bakery, leaving the winter wonderland outside. All around her, people are enjoying themselves decorating cookies. She sees palm-sized snow people with scarves and hats, green frosted trees adorned with colorful ornaments, white and blue snowflakes with delicately iced edges, and white candles with curving yellow flames. There are stained glass cookies dusted with powdered sugar and attached to pieces of ribbon and string, and chocolate chip cookies with the occasional bite missing. The first few people have started hanging some of their cookie ornaments on the metal tree in the corner. While most take their cookies home, many leave one behind on the tree, where it will remain until the new year. Lily picks up one of the stained glass cookies, lifts it to her lips, takes a bite, and feels the deliciously buttery crumbs melt in her mouth. The candy glass at its center is sweet on her tongue. There's nothing better than a freshly baked cookie, Lily thinks to herself. For the rest of the day, she will assist her friends in decorating their cookies in various fun and unique ways, and perhaps indulge in an afternoon coffee as a treat. But for now, she is content to stand there, absorbing the festive atmosphere as magical snow falls outside the bakery window. The gentle pattering on the glass gently wakes Lily. She keeps her eyes closed, savoring a few more moments of rest. Unintentionally, she drifts off, the sound of the rainfall blending with visions of damp streets and puddles in her mind. Gradually, the dream fades as her thoughts return to her bedroom. Lily smiles and finally opens her eyes, grateful for the extra few minutes of sleep. Even now, the sound of the rain is fading. It might stop completely, she thinks as she stretches her arms above her head. She rotates her toes in circles, feeling her ankles warm up with each turn, then moves her legs off the bed. After slipping into her cozy slippers, Lily heads to the kitchen. As she does most mornings, she puts the kettle on for a nice cup of tea. She enjoys the sound of the bubbles forming inside it, familiar and soothing, a comforting background noise in the otherwise quiet morning. Bubbles and rain are the two constants Lily can rely on at this time of day that make this place feel like home. Before the sun rises, she contemplates the other small, meaningful aspects of her life as she scoops dry tea leaves into a tall tea ball, twisting on the top. She suspends the ball from the rim of her mug with a tiny chain. Once the water boils, Lily pours it over the leaves and observes the hot water taking on the color of the tea leaves as they steep. This is a detail she values. No matter how many mornings she brews her tea, it always produces new color patterns in the mug. Making tea is both familiar and novel and exciting at the same time, she reflects. Lily adds a splash of milk to her tea before taking it to her wooden window seat. Peering through the glass, she observes her neighborhood still enveloped in darkness. The rain has subsided, replaced by a light mist, and she can discern the first tendrils of fog drifting in behind her neighbor's house. The man residing across the street tends to a splendid garden throughout spring and summer. Even in autumn, the flora surrounding his home appears perfectly situated. The brown, red, and yellow leaves that have descended from the trees over his lawn resemble an artistic splatter of paint on a verdant canvas. At this early hour, he remains asleep, much like most of the neighborhood. Lily muses with a smile, I must be among the earliest risers in town. Despite the early hours demanded by her bakery, Lily doesn't mind. It brings her joy to ensure her customers always have a welcoming spot upon waking. Glancing across the street, she notices a patch of soil recently disturbed. Realizing he must have planted bulbs yesterday, Lily recalls that she should do the same. Adjacent to the bakery, there's a small garden where Lily has dabbled in planting various crops over the years. From herbs to tomatoes and peppers, it is now a flower garden, or will be in the spring, provided she plants her bulbs promptly. These bulbs depend on the cool autumn soil to awaken from dormancy and establish roots for the upcoming season. I must remember to bring them to the bakery today, she reminds herself. After savoring her tea, Lily casts a final glance out the window. The fog is encircling the house opposite hers now, a forecasted occurrence, Lily recalls. She has always relished foggy days, finding something mystical and enchanting about them, as if hidden enchantments and realms of possibility lurk just beyond view. This notion elicits a grin as she rises, carries her mug to the sink, washes it, and leaves it to air dry on the bamboo rack before heading to the bedroom to dress. Opting for a red shirt with yellow accents today, she muses, on a gray day, I might as well inject a splash of color into my attire. By the front door, a paper bag filled with flower bulbs awaits her discovery. The bulbs, ranging in texture from somewhat firm to slightly soft, include daffodil, narcissus, and crocus varieties that bring to mind onions and garlic, while the hyacinth bulbs, with their reddish-purple hue, evoke thoughts of turnips. Lily dons her coat, gently tucks the bag of bulbs into a spacious pocket, dons her hat and gloves, and secures her green and yellow polka dot umbrella around her wrist. Opening the door, she pauses to gaze out onto the quiet street, where the fog shrouds her surroundings in a soft haze, allowing only a faint view of the pavement merging with the road in front of her house. She envisions the neighboring homes slumbering peacefully, nestled in the gentle folds of gray. Inhaling deeply, Lily revels in the crisp, invigorating scent of the air, cleansed by the recent rain and fog. Feeling rejuvenated, she closes the door behind her and embarks on her stroll. Though small puddles speckle the pavement, none are large enough to hinder her path, and her boots enable her to navigate them with care. Observing the minimal water accumulation, she muses, the rain last night must have been light and brief. Enjoying the walk to the bakery without needing her umbrella, Lily gazes up at the gray sky, where the fog weaves around the treetops, mingling with the branches and leaves. Extending her hand, she softly moves it through the mist, feeling the droplets gather on her skin. Instead of wiping her moistened fingers on her coat, she brings her hands together, welcoming the moisture into her skin as if applying lotion. Finding solace in her connection to the environment, she revels in the bond with the weather, the trees, and the sky. Turning her attention to where her neighbor's house should be, Lily discerns only the outline of the driveway, obscured by a veil of white and gray fog. Her neighbor's two cats, one white and one black, come to mind, and she envisions them cozily nestled together in their favored window spot, perhaps dreaming of sunny summer days and catnip. Continuing her journey, she listens to the rhythmic tap of her feet on the pavement, the sounds heightened by the enveloping fog. Under this atmospheric blanket, every sound resonates more distinctly, creating a sense of amplified presence in the surroundings. It takes Lily longer than usual to spot the bakery. Its recognizable, multicolored door peeks out from behind a swirl of fog for just a moment before being tucked away once again. Lily smiles. Even if she couldn't see the door at all, she'd still know it was there. She's done this very same walk every morning for so many years. She could probably find her way blindfolded. But still, it's a comfort to see it, and to know she'll soon be stepping inside, surrounded by the familiar aromas of coffee beans, sugar, and flour, and plugging in the twinkling fairy lights that will bring her little shop to life. She pulls out her set of keys and inserts the right one into the lock. Heading inside, she wipes her feet on the mat and then switches on the overhead lights. Then she takes off her coat and hangs it up, leaving the bulbs in the pocket. Before going behind the counter, she finds the end of the strand of fairy lights in the seating area and plugs them in. They flicker to life above her. That might be my favorite moment of the day, she thinks to herself. She knows she's back home at the bakery as soon as the fairy lights are twinkling overhead. With a feeling of gratitude for this comforting space, she takes a deep breath, inhaling the deliciously familiar scents within it. The coffee beans smell thick, yet rich. The flour is dusty and reminds her of weekends spent with her grandmother, baking all sorts of wonderful treats. And the sugar is sweet and a little bit burnt, reminding her of days at the fair and holiday cookies shaped like trees and ornaments. Exhaling, she feels her muscles relax. She rolls her shoulders a few times, allowing them to warm up and stretch out. Then she walks behind the counter. Before she left the bakery yesterday, she set aside a recipe for one of her favorite cold weather treats to make, fudge. Looking at the worn handwritten page, smeared with cocoa powder fingerprints and torn at one corner, is enough to bring the rich chocolate taste to mind. Yes, she thinks, this is exactly what I want to make today. One of her favorite things about this recipe is how simple it is. It only calls for 2 base ingredients, chocolate chips and sweetened condensed milk. Lily thinks for a moment about the flavors of fudge she'd like to make. Some of her regular customers always request peppermint, so she'll have to get out the peppermint extract and a package of candy canes to crush on top. Rose loves hazelnut fudge, so she'll need whole hazelnuts for the top. And finally, she's been in the mood for some rich orange chocolate, so that's what she'll make for herself. She even has some leftover candied orange peel she can use to give it an extra kick. Into the pantry she goes, discovering her reliable double boiler, appropriately sized pans, wax paper, chocolate chips, sweetened condensed milk, and all the necessary flavorings and toppings. Carrying them carefully behind the counter, Lily gazes at her gleaming silver double boiler, the key to perfectly melted chocolate chips, as her mother had once advised. Despite experimenting with bowls over pots and various methods over the years, Lily couldn't shake her mother's words when it came time to launch her bakery. Hence, she acquired her own shiny double boiler. Lily fills the bottom pot with water halfway and places the second pot on top, then sets it on the stove and pours a generous amount of of chocolate chips into the upper pot. As the water below warms up, the steam melts the chocolate evenly, preventing it from burning. Using a wooden spoon, she gently stirs the chips, observing their transformation from solid to malleable, to soft and gooey as they swirl around the pot. Before long, the chips meld into a molten pool of chocolate. Adding the sweetened condensed milk, Lily stirs to blend the ingredients. Starting with the peppermint fudge, she stirs in a spoonful of extract once she removes the boiler from the heat. The sharp, refreshing aroma of peppermint wafts through the air, awakening her senses and evoking memories of chilly winter days filled with ice and snow. Swiftly pouring the chocolate mixture into a pan lined with wax paper before it cools too much. The fudgy liquid flows like ribbons into the container, filling every crevice like lava flowing through a rocky passage. Scraping the sides of the pot with the wooden spoon to ensure no fudge is left behind, Lily lifts the pan gently and taps it on the counter to help the mixture settle evenly. Now it's time for the topping. Fetching a sturdy rolling pin from a nearby drawer, Lily unwraps several red and white candy canes, one by one, peeling off the plastic in strips. Feeling a slight stickiness on her fingertips from the sugary treats, she places the candy canes in a bag between two towels and rolls the pin back and forth over them. The faint snaps indicate the candy is breaking into pieces. Once crushed into tiny fragments, she scoops some into her hand and sprinkles it over the cooling fudge. The larger candy chunks will provide a satisfying, crunchy texture to the fudge, while the smaller pieces will infuse an additional hint of peppermint essence. Lily moves the fudge to the cooling racks, where it will stay until it's ready to be sliced and served. Meanwhile, she cleans the pot and prepares the next two batches. Prior to starting the next batch, she grates a whole orange for its zest. The zest, along with orange oil, will enhance the fudge with a vibrant, citrusy flavor. Once Lily has melted the chocolate chips and mixed them with milk, she incorporates the zest and oil into the pan. The melted fudge shines in the light, and the oil blends in, creating a smoother texture. Lily envisions how it will melt in her mouth with the first bite. She decorates the fudge with curls of candied orange peel on top, gently pressing them down to set. She indulges in a piece, savoring the intense citrus taste, softened by the rich sweetness. Next, it's time to prepare the hazelnut fudge. Just as Lily is about to heat the water on the stove, Rose appears on the other side of the counter. "It's so foggy out there," Rose remarks to Lily. She recounts getting disoriented earlier that morning while leaving her house, initially thinking she had gone the wrong way due to the thick fog obscuring her surroundings. Eventually, she spotted the bakery's twinkling lights in the distance, acting as guiding stars, leading her through the mist to her familiar place. Lily grins widely as Rose shares her experience, eager to inform her about the upcoming hazelnut fudge. "That's my favorite," Rose exclaims, clapping her hands together softly. Lily pours Rose a cup of coffee, and Rose settles into a cozy spot by the window. Returning to the stove, Lily sets up the double boiler and combines the chocolate and milk as before. After removing the mixture from the heat, she adds hazelnut flavoring in crushed hazelnut pieces before pouring it into the lined pan. To finish, she meticulously arranges whole hazelnuts in rows on top of the fudge, providing each piece with a crunchy texture and rich flavor. Lily notices Rose smiling as the scent of hazelnut fudge wafts through the air, blending with the orange and peppermint aromas, a delightful combination for a chilly day. While waiting for the fudge to cool, Lily decides to plant some bulbs. It's a slow day, and I'll have a clear view of anyone entering, she reasons. Lily approaches Rose and gently places a hand on her shoulder. I'll be outside if you need anything, she assures her. To Lily's surprise, Rose offers to help. A pleasant opportunity to have company in the garden, she thinks. Although Lily is content spending time alone with her plants, she always appreciates moments shared with close friends. After many years, Rose has undoubtedly become a cherished friend. Together, Lily and Rose make their way to the door, putting on their coats and scarves as they exit. In the small garden, Lily retrieves a bag of flower bulbs from her pocket. Rose uncovers a workbench where a few tools are kept and locates a couple of trowels. The two women kneel on the ground, laughing as they feel the damp soil seeping into their trouser knees, and start digging. They reminisce about the various seasons they have witnessed at the bakery. There was the incident when Max from the hardware store mistakenly ordered 12 dozen cupcakes instead of 2 dozen for his daughter's birthday party, resulting in them practically giving away cupcakes for a couple of days. Then there was the summer when a storm hit, washing out some roads and leaving visitors stranded in town. Everyone gathered at the bakery, brewing coffee, preparing snacks, and gathering blankets, children's books, and more to ensure the stranded guests were comfortable until the roads were fixed. "Remember all the good times we've had here?" Rose inquires. Lily nods, pressing the soil around the final flower bulb. Stepping back, she admires their handiwork. Rose joins her. They stand side by side in a comfortable silence, reflecting on and appreciating the well-spent years. Lily gazes at the fairy lights, twinkling like guiding stars in the foggy darkness, beckoning those in need of a temporary refuge, regardless of the weather. A bakery for rainy days,